Our This Week in XR podcast is sponsored by our friends at Zapper, the world's leading augmented reality platform and creative studio, with over 11 years of experience working with the world's biggest brands through Zapper Creative Studio. Zapper also has an award-winning web AR platform, ZapWorks, that lets you create your own mobile AR magic. Finally, check out their Zap Box, the most affordable mixed reality headset on the planet. Start creating AR over at zap.works or talk to them about your next AR project at zapper.com. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, September 30th. I'm Charlie Fink with Ted Chilowitz for This Week in XR. Our guest today is Amy LaMeyer, a venture capitalist, managing partner of the Women's XR Fund. And she has made some terrific investments. She's a wonderful person, so we'll look forward to chatting with her in a few minutes. Let's get right to the news, Ted. Actually, not in my column today, is layoffs and a hiring freeze at Meta. They've been talking about doing this. Snap, of course, cut 20% of its workforce several weeks ago. And it looks like if we are not falling on tech times, they are acting like we are about to.
Right. Well, and for those of us that have been in this business and other businesses related to
Happens all the time
of entertainment, this is what, if you use it through the stock vernacular, this is cyclical, right?
Yeah.
Companies grow, they grow too big, they grow too fast, they try and take advantage of opportunities, they see the future, they staff up massively quickly, they try and deploy resources, they realize that the human equation does not let them deploy these resources as quickly as they need to, and then they start to pull back. So
and these are ad-supported companies, and as somebody who was running an ad-supported company in 2008, I can tell you the first thing that goes overboard when you feel like you're spending too much is advertising,
right,
and marketing, because it's easy to cut. The pain is not really felt immediately, and there's the economic fact that when times get tough, or when people perceive that they might be, they pull back on spending. I suppose that will keep control over inflation, but it also constrains all companies, especially companies dependent on advertising.
Yeah, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I have this instinct, not based on fact, just based on gut instinct, that this downturn that the industry is feeling, that the sector is feeling, is going to actually be shorter term than other downturns have been in the past. Because
I don't know, but I will say this about the stock market in general. People are freaking out that prices are where they were in 2020. So just to put things in perspective,
So
but I don't think in 2020 we were thinking, how long can this go on? We weren't thinking, about a recession. Well, we were thinking about a recession at that moment. I mean, I think the government handled COVID well from an economic standpoint. People felt like they had a lot of money during the pandemic. They were spending less, but there was not widespread panic as there might have been.
Right.
So anyway, let's get on to the news. Actually, some interesting good news this week. Our friends at Nreal launching the Nreal Air. It's available on Amazon. It's $399. I cannot wait to try this thing.
Yeah, I've tested it a few times. It works well. It's a very simple device. It's basically a remote monitor for your face, like we've talked about many times. But I think at that price point, and that, more importantly, that mainstream availability via Amazon is going to increase sales. Like, it's just, oh yeah, we should get one of these. It's $400. Let's learn a little bit about what mixed reality, pass-through mixed reality can be. So I'm excited.
It's a different take on smart glasses than we've seen from Snap or from Meta. There are no outward-facing cameras. No, souped up sound close to your ears as Bose did, or spatial audio. These are really meant for one thing. And I guess it's going to come down to a couple of things. One is, do people want screen replacement? That is not yet established. For a mobile device, though, particularly for gaming or consuming media, you can see it. So it hasn't caught on, it hasn't worked yet, but everybody keeps stepping up to the plate. I think the audio smart glasses and the terrible little cameras inside of them have limited utility. They're transitory devices, but something that could take your mobile phone and give you, a large screen. They say it's 101 inches. The feeling that the screen or the expanded screen would be that big is kind of compelling, but so far, it hasn't caught on. But it's been a while since somebody took a swing at this, and $400, as you say, makes it accessible. And again, if first adopters are using them and people see that, I think it could really accelerate things.
Yeah, the one interesting thing so I've tested them a few times. I like them. They have a very simple directed use case, which I like, because trying to build something for everything means you're sort of building everything for no one, right? and when you build something that's just like, this is a remote monitor, the quality of the visuals are really good. It's fairly lightweight. It's fairly simple. It's got a really good price point. Here's the one thing that I'm very curious from moving from prototype devices to actually shipping devices is, regardless of whether the company realizes it or not, depending on where they come from, they have built-in biases on how they create a product. So all of the devices from Nreal I've tested have always been a little troublesome on Western noses and Western faces because they come from China. No knock, no criticism. They're just building things for themselves, right? So everyone you put on is a little.
Well, the Nreal, in fairness, the Nreal was just a titch too heavy to sit comfortably on the face. They worked really hard on that. They made a lot of trade-offs. I think they took the long view and said, we got to get something in the market. We know this isn't going to be our best seller. We know in 3 years we're going to be talking about a different kind of device, but they got started. And there continues to be a lot of interest around the world. So I would say they were successful in that.
I think they'll have a win if they just remember to put enough nose pieces for everybody's faces.
Well, this is supposed to be super light. It's supposed to be super light, and that will really matter.
The device is very, very light. Yes,
and screen resolution.
It's great. It's very crystal clear on your face.
Amazing. Well, good luck to them. It's a good company. I'm fond of the founder.
We like Chi a lot.
We're still trying to get Chi on the show. Let's move on. Lenovo launched a VR headset that looks very much like the HTC Focus, which is for essentially remote collaboration, corporate offices. IT loves it because they can manage it remotely, and people don't have to tether it to their personal smartphone.
Correct.
So we'll see. It's priced similar to the Pro and the Pico. But Lenovo is an enterprise company. They're very focused on enterprise, and I guess the response to their Think Reality A3 smart glasses, which again are a bit of a screen extender but have more functionality than just that, and tethers to a PC.
And
this one is standalone. So
the real winner is in all this is our friends at Qualcomm, because they are powering everybody's version of VR these days, right?
Yes, they are. Does Magic Leap 2 use their chips?
No, I don't think. I think they're the one. And whatever may be coming from Apple are the only two, because Microsoft uses it for HoloLens. Certainly, Meta uses it for their Quest and their new upcoming Quest. The Lenovo uses it. Their Lenovo smart glasses uses it. What we just talked about, Nreal uses it. It is pretty much the dominant chipset for that type of device.
Yeah, I mean, they power the HoloLens too. Let's not forget.
Yeah, HoloLens. Other than Magic Leap, I think they're pretty much it.
So, have you heard of a company called Hadian? They're based in the UK. They're a middleware company. For people who don't know what that means, it means the stuff in the middle that you never see. This one's a little inside baseball, but it's significant because its investors are Tencent and Epic Games, and they raised $30 million, which is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But supposedly this is the company behind Minecraft. And when we talk about a massively multiplayer, real-time, synchronous metaverse, it's going to be a long time before infrastructure will do those tricks. In the meantime, it's going to take innovation on the hardware and on the cloud side. And I think that's really what's interesting about this.
But do they give any details of what they actually do for Minecraft? Because obviously Microsoft owns Minecraft. So.
Well, what they do is they distribute the load to and use local nodes to minimize latency and also stress on all the servers. So,
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's one of those dirty little secrets about the internet is when you're, especially if you're a gamer and using game instances, load balancing is a big deal, like because of the latency that moves around this big trunk line. So that's good. That's interesting.
And of course, Epic really mixed up and interested in the metaverse. So also significant. So Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart is in the metaverse, actually on Roblox. And it's not just about shopping. They've got games, they've got, I guess, merch and NFTs and everything that, you have in the metaverse. And I have no idea how much time people are going to spend in
the Walmart verse, the Wallverse.
In Wallverse, but it does have the advantage of being free.
Yeah.
And, on platforms like Roblox, the first thing people do is go looking for free stuff before they buy the Robux. So maybe they'll get some folks in there. It's a different audience, right? It's, they're looking for the under 25 crowd.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me is what companies large and small, and Walmart is a very, very large company, hundreds of thousands.
Largest retailer in the world. Largest retailer in the world.
Right. If you think about it from the perspective of companies have learned from their first stab at coming too late to this thing called the internet, that they just want to make sure they're in the conversation. And it costs so little to actually deploy something these days because the advancements of game engines and technology, that the mistake of not having some sort of presence in these worlds is a real miss, right? So there's enough people like us in those companies that say, we need to do this. And the executives say, why? And the answer is, why not, right?
Yeah.
We really just need to be there and we'll learn a few things along the way. And that's enough really for them.
Yeah, well, again, that's sort of like, why did Oculus launch the Go?
Why not? Right.
So Rec Room, Unity is coming to Rec Room. Rec Room creators have been working in a bespoke game engine made just for Rec Room by Rec Room. And now they're opening it up so you can take the worlds you're building in Rec Room, import them into Unity, add other assets, add textures, do all the things you really at this moment can't do on the Unity game platform and also on Horizons and others. And I think it's a brilliant use of Unity. And then you pop it right back into Rec Room. I think it's going to be, we're going to start seeing a lot more interesting, complex, and less uniform worlds on Rec Room. So I love the way they're developing this platform. By the way, worlds you upload are available on all platforms. So when you upload it, you can explore it with a game. You can explore it with a game console.
Yeah, I wonder if one of the big tech giants will make a play for Rec Room pretty soon, that it's getting to that point where they're making all the right decisions. The Unity play is very smart. It allows them to make more sophisticated graphics and grow the style of it to multiple styles. So they can bring in more users. And the next step is, here comes a big tech giant saying, okay, Rec Room's now ours. That's
maybe. I mean, it's it would be a pretty big multi-billion-dollar.
It would be a big deal, right? But there's only a few companies that can do that, and when you look at companies buying other companies for the low paltry price of $75 to $80 billion, sometimes these things happen. So it'll be interesting to see.
Tim Cook was getting an honorary degree in Italy last week, and he did a Q&A with the students and was asked about AR and their upcoming AR device. And while he declined to speak about the device and the timing specifically, he did say something that we're always saying about smartphones, which is someday you'll wonder how you lived without it, right? I still have kids wondering, how did their parents meet? How did they go out to dinner? Right. How did they have a date without a smartphone?
Yeah. And look, I think it's a pretty easy out for him. I think there's an obviousness to that statement. He's not really telling us anything we don't know. He's doing our futurist is actually a pastist use case, right? He's just reflecting on the obvious, which is, of course, there are things that we use now that we can't even imagine that we could live without. And he's just extrapolating and saying AR is probably one of those things that at some point will be so robust and so intimate to everything that we do that will be like, yeah, remember we used to type on this thing, like you had to put paper in it and push the buttons and then you got one copy of it. And then if your dog ate it, that was a problem, right? So I think it's all sort of born of the same tree as master of the obvious there.
Well, I see Amy is here, so let's bring her in and continue the conversation.
Great.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Nice to see you both as well. Good to be here.
How's the biz? How's the investment biz?
It's very exciting. In fact, we're wiring money for our 13th investment today.
Congratulations. Very exciting.
Thanks. Yeah. So it's it's been a slower summer than we originally anticipated. I think all investors were a little bit slower. You see statistics about that as well, but definitely picking up in September, and we're seeing a lot of interesting startups out there.
So for our listeners, give us a little background. There's some unique components and capabilities of your fund as compared to others. So you should give us a little taste of what you do.
Your investment thesis, so to speak.
For sure. So the WXR fund invests in virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence, early stage startups that have at least one female in the founding team. And we invest across all verticals and have investments in real estate and retail and education and media and entertainment and healthcare. It's an exciting fund.
Would you say it's difficult? I mean, be very candid with us as you look through the landscape. Is it difficult to find startups in this sector that have women founders or co-founders or, women involved at the early stages? Is it relatively easy now? I'm curious.
Yeah, it takes work. It isn't completely easy. That being said, because we're such a specific niche, we're fortunate to get the pipeline from a lot of other people, because anytime someone thinks, oh, female founder in this space, they think of our fund. And so we're really
you got a leg up there. Yeah, it's interesting.
We're really thankful for all the support and allies that we have that send folks our way.
I love that you invested in Scatter. That's, I guess, Yasmin Elliott is the female co-founder of this company, but they're the ones who have the volumetric photogrammetry, I guess, videogrammetry camera that runs, system that runs through an SLR and a PC. I've always loved that.
Yeah, it's more portable than something bigger like a Metastage.
Well, unlike Metastage, you can shoot in the wild and people can walk around and they're not constrained. The trade-off is that, of course, it's more impressionistic.
Yeah, and what we're really excited to is the potential for real-time streaming, volumetric streaming, again, out in the wild.
Yeah,
but a ways to get there, but we're working that direction.
Well, they've made some lovely experiences using the technology, notably the 2017 subway installation at Tribeca, which unfortunately, because it's a installation, not everyone could see it, but it was a VR experience that took place in a real subway car. The subway car is a set, of course, but you were a ghost and able to listen to what was in people's heads, which was just a crazy, lonely, compelling experience.
It's very interesting. Yes.
And they've made a couple of VR films, notably The Changing Same, which was at Tribeca in 2021 and is now available in the Oculus stores. Probably one of the best VR films that have been made.
Yeah, Emmy nominated as well. So yeah.
And of course they did the 0 Days VR documentary companion to the documentary movie. Also free on Quest.
Yes, it's true.
So go ahead, Ted.
So here's a little angle that I'm curious, because I was actually under a misconception other than recently when someone corrected me, and I'm curious how you relate and reflect to this, both of you. When you talk about gaming platforms and people on gaming platforms, I think people still have a conception, which I have now learned is in many ways a misconception, that men, are much more into games than women, girls. And I was talking about Roblox the other day. Charlie and I talk about Roblox a lot on the podcast because obviously Roblox is quite successful. And I was like, it's mostly like young boys on Roblox. And someone said, actually, it's actually pretty even now. And I just, as you guys were talking, I just did a quick check. Today, 51% male, 44% female. So
That's
it's almost at parity.
unprecedented.
Almost at parity, right? And I think that's really interesting. It's a little bit of an unknown, sort of known fact that women are just as interested in this stuff as men and girls, young girls growing up. So I'm curious if you have a perspective on that, and that reflects on your investment thesis.
Yeah, for sure. I think what the research has found is that women are interested in different types of games, right? And that's what you'll see. But with Roblox, what you're looking at is creation and connection and community. And I think that's appealing to both.
Well, that's kind of new, right? Women really dominate a lot of the word games and puzzle games and things on mobile, but to have them playing more kinetic action games that is more typical of Roblox is definitely something of a breakthrough. I mean, that percentage is extraordinary. I don't know the gender difference in Fortnite, but it's got to be like,
we know there are definitely women playing in Fortnite. Right?
I just, Jordan Weissman is a famous game designer who created BattleTech and was one of the first Xbox creative directors, used to say, men just need a place, women need a reason. Referring, of course, to gameplay.
Yeah. But I'm curious, do those kind of discussions and statistics start to affect your investment thesis? The things you look at, the things you would maybe not invest in a year or 2 years ago and are revisiting now?
Absolutely, because we're always looking at what the market potential is and what the timing is, right? Particularly with emerging tech, timing is so critical, right? Those companies, Next VR, Next XR, they started super early, and yes, they did get acquired by Apple, but what if they had started now? How would that be different? Would they have grown bigger, better? Would they be getting the funding Amaze VR is getting today, right? So timing is just, I think, really important, and we're always taking a look at where the market is and how it's shifting.
Is it hard to find female founders?
It has been, and it is a concentrated effort, right? So certainly we get pitched and people approach us of all genders, and still, even though right on our first page it says women founders, but like I was saying, because we're the only fund at the intersection of this space, we are this beacon for nearly all. I feel like almost all the time we know or have been introduced to so many female founders in this space. But it takes, it's like TJ Maxx. You're culling through all the stuff in order to find the gems.
Now, are you looking for seed stage, Series A? What is your
we're very early, so mostly seed. We've done a few pre-seed investments. We're writing checks of 150 to 250. Not normally leading, although we were co-leads for Obsess, the virtual stores with Neha Singh. Really excited about what's been going on there and the success and traction she's having, which is fun.
And this may not be public, but do you have a size of your fund overall, so people know kind of the money that you're working with? Is that?
Yeah, we have 2 more deals in our fund portfolio. So the size of the portfolio is 5, so we'll do 15 in total. We're saving a little bit for follow-ons.
Yeah, that's great. So what are the other? I know that you invested in Shapes XR last year. Super interesting founder.
Yes, yeah. Just saw Inga this week at the Metaverse Summit USA. She's continuing to shape shapes. And I haven't tried the latest version, but I'm looking forward to jumping.
Yeah, we used it in my class. It's for prototyping experiences that you would make with the game engine. In our case, it was Unity. And several students just did their whole project.
Right, you can actually
do it. Never actually went to Unity.
Right. That's kind of what's interesting about these sort of low code or no code solutions is they're so powerful in and of themselves that, and again, it's not always, and in many cases, it doesn't matter about the fidelity of the deliverable. It's about the gameplay and the use case. And you can build these things in these, sort of bespoke build tools. I mean, again, look at Roblox.
And it's on Quest and it's free. I think they get a lot of use by individual artists and people who are just, playing around. So it's, I mean, who doesn't love a free app?
Yeah. And for anyone that's interested in doing development out there, I definitely recommend following them on Instagram because they put a lot of use cases and tips. They have a lot of training. They're really trying to promote a nice development ecosystem for content creation, which I think is really important for this space right now.
Has for the companies that you've invested in so far, have you had any exits yet or any acquisitions or anything that is on the other side yet? Or are you still in?
Not yet. Everyone's still in the growth mode.
Got it. Good.
So what have been your do you think that the current economic situation, which is I mean, Ted and I were just talking, I mean, as tragic as it sounds, the truth is the market is only down to where it was 18 months ago. So I wouldn't completely call the fire department right now, but the way companies are entrenching themselves, I think they certainly expect things to get worse before they get better. I would imagine that is affecting the venture environment. Do you think founders are a little worried if they need a new round or if they're still looking? Is it going to get
definitely
tighter?
seeing that for sure. And most investors are counseling their portfolios to make sure that they've got enough runway just in case this takes a little bit longer. We're seeing way more bridge rounds than we were a year ago for that particular reason. In case growth is slower. But again, on the other side, and lots of statistics and stories out there, in down markets, you see those companies that really can make it through and shine. And so, it's an opportunity as well.
Well, I think you also see these people who are leaving these big companies they're being in a position to start things. So, I mean, it's bad, obviously, for people to lose their jobs at Snap, but, some talented people there who will do other things.
That's what I was thinking too, is again, for as much as it might impact individuals, ultimately for the ecosystem, having this knowledge transfer to other places, startups, or even other, other growing companies, I think it's ultimately a good thing.
Amy, what did you do before you were a venture capitalist?
We love
to hear people's personal stories. So, I mean, people don't, when they're an undergraduate in college, say, I want to be a venture capitalist.
It's true. Yeah. So way back in undergrad, I was in international relations and poli-sci, French and Spanish, and toyed with immigration law for a while, but that's a really hard space to be in. So shifted to a dual, computer science. The internet was growing. So computer science MBA degree at Boston University, started work for a company called Akamai Technologies.
Oh, sure.
Helped build and scale the internet. So that was in 99.
Did you know John Bishop there?
Oh, yeah.
He's running LibreStream now.
He is. He is. Yeah. We are still in touch.
He's a great guy. Love him.
He is. Most of the time I started in engineering at Akamai, but most of the time I was doing M&A. So I got to work with him on, he was doing some strategic stuff on the streaming side. So we did acquisitions, including Red Swoosh, which was led by Travis Kalanick. Interesting space. Loved it. Loved growing the internet and communicate, connecting people and giving people information. That was really fun. But as it shifted to cybersecurity, that was just less interesting to me. So we were doing diligence at CES in 2016, and I saw the rift in the Vive. And I went, oh, that's how we're going to communicate with each other. Wow, it's early. It's like building streaming networks in 2000. Like no one's ready. But I think I need to do that. So I shifted into just really diving in. I spent daily hours with Kent Bai's Voices of VR podcast. Yes. And that's how I got up to speed on what's happening in 2016.
Do you remember
everything?
Do you remember the first things that you did in VR that just amazed you, that you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be something?
Tilt brush.
There you go. Very good.
Right. Yeah,
Google Earth for me.
What was it?
Google Earth.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And
Yeah,
Charlie,
and
you
I
know
did
my story.
some-
I go back a generation before that with the Aladdin Magic Carpet VR ride.
Oh, wow.
That was my first moment. That's 20 years before Tilt Brush. So
Yeah, the ocean one too. There was, I can't remember which
The blue.
ocean one it
the
was.
blue,
but
yeah, the blue that
It's been around forever. They actually
Yeah.
expanded it for a
Yeah.
Dreamscape location-based VR
Yeah, when
experience.
that giant whale swam in front of you and its
Oh, I
eye
know.
looked at you, you went, okay, this is going to be something. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, I had to. It was obvious that it was the next thing.
What was the first investment that you guys made at WXR Fund?
I think it was Carrie Shaw as the CEO of Embodied Labs. It was
Embodied
either
Labs
that-
AI? Am I remembering that?
Embodied Labs does VR, and now they have a flat screen version as well, but teaching people how to care for the aging population. So it's for the caregivers of the aging population. It was either that or it was Cy and Alex from Absurd Joy. They were former Alchemy Labs, and then they have a tool now. It's a remote productivity tool called Tangle. It was one of the two. We did them both in the same month. And my angel investments, my first angel investments, Tribe, the DJing in VR
Yeah, sure.
was one
Yeah.
of them. And SVRF. So that was an exit. That's Sophia Dominguez. She ultimately went to Snap.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
What's your take on Snap's position these days?
So I was glad to see that they did the Black Founder Program. They announced that this week. So that was 120, or I can't remember how much the funding was, but they were doing 25 creators and small business folks to enable them for a year-long project with funding to create. So nice to see that they're still doing some.
Yeah, I
funding
mean,
on the
kind of an
creative
amazing
side.
thing to do given the circumstances.
Yeah, and the diversity side. So impressed with that. And I think at a Bloomberg conference this week, one of the execs said something about 250 million people using AR these days. So, even
They mean mobile AR, obviously.
yes, which ultimately will be smart glasses once we actually finally get there. I think it's still early for that, even though we're seeing in real air.
Yeah, we were just talking about that while you were in the green room.
I don't have the airs, but I have these that I'm doing some judging after we meet today.
We were talking about the Nreal light is very much a first adopter device.
Oh, for sure.
But the Air, I think, might have a chance. I mean, one of the problems with the light was that the ergonomics were so close, but not quite.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the light, I'm waiting for my demo unit, is going to potentially be a breakthrough device, right? A different take than the Ray-Ban stories or the Bose or the Amazon frames.
I hope so. And you heard Tim Cook this week talking about AR as well. That's a lovely quote. In the future, people will wonder how we lived without AR.
Right. Isn't that what people say about smartphones today?
For sure. And what I say is kids born today will wonder why we did things on a flat screen. Right? At least I hope.
Very possibly. Well, we're definitely living in a 3D world, and that is going to come to our screens in varying ways in the coming years.
It's true.
Well, I think that's a good way to wrap up today. Amy, it was lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, the last time I joined, I think, was early on when you.
Oh, yeah, that was in 2020.
First started.
October 2020, I think.
We have been going, Ted and I have been getting together Friday mornings for several years now.
It's our Metaverse Coffee Clutch we do.
Thank you, exactly. And we just bring in our friends so that we could, which was really super fun during the pandemic because there was no serendipity, right? I didn't run into you at a conference.
Sure.
We didn't end up, sitting together, during, a a conference session in all the ways that we typically interact throughout the years. So that was a nice feature of it. And it's still nice to get together this way. So
It is nice to see you both.
thank
Thank
you,
you for
Amy.
spending time
Have a
with us.
great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Friday.